All right, we're going to be checking out this Zepla video, Zepla HQ, most notably known for Final Fantasy 14. Also used to play World of Warcraft, and of course has been dabbling in one of my favorite MMOs for the longest time, by myself anyway, Guild Wars 2. But I'm curious to always hear about people's brand new experiences, what they're liking, what they're not liking, and of course her video is titled Guild Wars 2 finally clicked for me. Here's why.
Hey Buns, so a bunch of y'all have asked what it's been like for me as a new Guild Wars 2 player in 2025. No!
I see that, and my thumb is instantly going to press spacebar or X. For those that play the game, you'll know why.
After about 150 hours into my Mesmer Sylvari, I've finished the core story. I finished Living World Season 1, 2, and 3. We finished Heart of Thorns, and we're about to start Path of Fire, and I can tell you the game is vast. I've never had so much fun getting lost and going insane at points. This is going to be my big brain dump of everything that I've loved, that I've struggled with, and why I'm so locked into this world. So if you're curious about trying Guild Wars 2 for the first time, or you just want to see a fresh pair of eyes on it, I got you. This is actually not my first rodeo. So when I first started Guild Wars 2 2.5 years ago, I started as a ranger and it didn't stick. I ended up dropping the game and I never made it past the base game. And looking back, I think I just wasn't in the right mindset to really appreciate it. I was kind of distracted, I was stressed, and I was kind of high strung at the time because I had a lot going on in my personal life. And this time around, I think starting over as a new Mesmer, Zepla Dew, like Mountain Dew. It just goes to show that sometimes all you really need is a fresh start. I remember the art style didn't click at first. I had to unlearn the habit of comparing it to other MMOs. And once I stopped doing that, I actually started to love this game. The more...
Because obviously Guild Wars 1 is first game, right? But if you play Guild Wars 1, and I played it, I still play it, right? It's one of my favorite online games ever. And I don't say MMO because it's more of a massively online co-op game than it is a true MMO. Heavily instance game. Guild Wars 2 is more MMO, but the Guild Wars 2 is essentially a graphics upgrade. But side by side, you can see where Guild Wars 2 came from, right? They definitely leans into things like, like the artistic style. I swear to God, there is a Bold and the Beautiful filter on Guild Wars 2 that I haven't seen in other MMOs, right? It's just got that kind of that glow, everything. It's just got that glow, right? That's applied to it.
more time I spend in Tyria, the more I start to notice and love the little artistic details that define it, like the loose brushstrokes, the patterns that are so expressive. The game's art director said that they try to use color as a language in itself. And I remember once in Ore, I was exploring this dark, gray, gloomy wasteland when all of a sudden I stumbled across this plateau that's just glowing with golden light. It really just stopped me in my tracks. There have been countless times since, especially going through Heart of Thorns, where I've been blown away by the beauty of this game, and it started to feel like I'm playing in a huge painting. My friend...
Well, world design is incredible because even though each zone is they're not instance, but you can't free flow from one zone to the other. You still got to go through a specific portal to get to the next zone. But each zone is absolutely gigantic, and not just on the horizontal plane, but also a lot of it can be on the vertical plane as well, and also going in underground, because there's a lot of nooks and crannies in the game that you just don't even realize that. You go in there and you discover maybe a new event or something like that, and you're like, wow, I had no idea this was here this whole time. And that's what makes part of their level design and the creation of their worlds very cool.
Friend has a legendary sword that has a spell effect that looks just like a brushstroke to me. It's so iconic. Guild Wars 2.
Wow, your sword is so cool. As we're falling, it was like... Yeah, it's so cool.
But visuals aside, but I think what got me hooked on the game more than anything is just how fun the classes are to play. And they're fun right out of the box. You know, you don't have to wait 50 levels to feel cool.
Also, this is something I never see anyone talk about. Like Zepla might, but like most other MMOs, you need a target to activate your ability, right? 98% of the abilities in Guild Wars 2, you can just fire off whenever you feel like it. That's the cool thing. Like, that's one of the really cool things. I know, so she's playing Mesmer. There's obviously a couple of abilities in there, you know, for her clones, which require a target. But outside of that, you know, like 98% of the abilities are pretty much just cast wherever you like, which is really cool. Sometimes you'll just be like, yeah, I'm just going to cast fire here, then like big meteor strike, whatever you're doing, and just look cool because you feel like it, right? I've always said this: the Guild Wars 2 professions, as they're called in this, not classes, professions, make you feel like a badass, even like pretty much immediately, which is what she's saying here, right? And because of that, like it really does sort of draw you into the excitement, and the, you know, and the crafting of the profession that you're playing. I main a necromancer, you know, and I've been playing that since day one on Guild Wars 2. Brilliant class, profession.
In the game, like you will get a vibe check in like 10 minutes or so. You'll be pressing fun buttons. And I really like trying out different kinds of weapons, like the underwater siren type spells you get. I have a great sword, but I use it like a wand, which is so weird. I shoot laser beams out of a sword, and it's awesome. Like, what is this game? I've now unlocked my first elite spec, Virtuoso. Big.
So that's, again, so something else is that, and I felt this way even with Guild Wars 1, is that arenanet took stuff that other games were doing and thought, how do we make it unique to us, right? They've done that with the mount system. Once she discovers the mounts, because she's just about to start Path of Fire, she's going to realize like how different these mounts handle and behave versus everything else that she's used to, right? And once you get a handle on that and a feel on that, it really does make them great, which is why obviously arenanet are revisiting some of the older mounts like the Skimmer and the Warclaw and so on, because they're realizing, okay, let's really pad these mounts out and make them really intriguing to use all the time if that's what you want to do. If you want to run around on the Skimmer after you fully upgraded it in Visions of Eternity, you can, right? I run around as the Warclaw all the time now, and I used to use Skyscale all the time, but the Warclaw now, because now it feels like I've got choice, right, that I can swap between the two. But going back to the weapon thing, so on my Necromancer, the Greatsword is a melee weapon, but on the Mesmer, it's a ranged weapon, right? My Axe on my Necro is a ranged weapon, but on a Warrior, it will be a melee weapon, right? And that's where they turn things around, and that's what makes it very cool.
Thanks to Loranity for teaching me how to play it with your videos. You're amazing. You are a legend. I think I'm still awkward with it, but it's kind of like Frostmage and Rogue in WoW had a baby. Or like, what if Sage was a DPS? You know, I've got daggers floating over my head, but I'm a mage assassin. It's awesome. Now, some people warned me to not play a Mesmer as a new player because it can be confusing, but my advice is just do not listen to people's advice. Wait, so does that mean that you should listen to my advice? I am here for the butterflies, the clones exploding, and being a sussy baka. You know, that's what Mesmer's about. I've also tested Bunnymancer on the beta, which is a spec that's coming up. And I mean, come on, it's a zappy lightning bunny class. That's so cool. Like, that's for me, obviously. So I'll make the Elementalist alt for that at some point before the expansion comes out at the end of this month, October 28th. There are two things that Guild Wars 2 does that are frankly best in class. Okay, nobody can touch arenanet on these things that they did 10 years ago. Okay, we got god tier mounts and open world, and these things are symbiotic. You know, the goodness of one amps up the other. So far I have a raptor and a glider, and the raptor has a weight to it and a physics that you might not be used to in games. You know, he skids to a stop, he plops on a jump, he surges forward when you leap. Even when he sits down to rest, it feels like this living being that you've got to steer and get used to. But the mount is only half the story because the other half is where you ride it, obviously. And I didn't realize until very far into the core game just how deceptively flat the zones are and can seem. I thought I had almost finished a map, and my chat's just like, oh, you sweet summer child. There are layers, there are tunnels, there are systems of caves that you don't even know about. You can't even see from where you're standing. Trying to describe zone maps now.
There are like jumping puzzles. I don't know if she's ever talked about this before, but some of the jumping puzzles, right, obviously make it so that you can't use mounts to do them. Because you know, it'd be way too easy, right? But some of them you go into, and there are just these massive networks of like ledges and stairs and beams you got to jump on inside of these buildings. And if you were outside, you're just looking at like the side of a cliff. That's it. Nothing amazing. No giant door saying come in. Nothing, right? In fact, some of them are so hidden, right? There's this one jumping puzzle where like it's actually the Asuran bad guys who have, you know, created this illusion of a cliff face, right? And you would have no idea, like there's not even an indication that if you go up to the wall and you simply walk through it, you are now inside this massive interior zone within the zone to then go ahead and attempt like the jumping puzzle and stuff like that. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Feel like the Charlie conspiracy meme. Look at those tunnels.
Where the heck am I right now?
Literally. Do you know that Skyrim moment where you step out of a cave and you see the horizon spread out before you, and it's awesome? That kind of moment happens all the time. And also the cave is a jump puzzle. Really though, the jump puzzles were first to show me how dense the maps in the game are. One of them begins deep down in a cave, and we keep climbing up and like across the vines and rocks until it starts getting lighter and the sun shines through the leaves, and finally you reach the open sky again. And I thought, damn, did they use half the map for this puzzle on its own? No, it's just that is not even half the map. It's a tiny bit of the map. And there's another one I did out in Ore that was just pure sadism, and it's not even the worst one. How can such a painful experience be a fond memory? It's this insanely long, complicated.
This is just us old people get the platforming, right? We get the platforming cobwebs off, and we put that to good use. You know, all those, you know, days playing all of these old 8 and 16-bit platformers back in the day are finally like paying off in this game.
Network of tunnels and catacombs with so many iffy jumps and confusing corridors. So it's not even just like it's a jump puzzle, it's also a super confusing labyrinth. We're like freaking swimming at one point to get to the next part underwater. I'm like, where the hell are we? It's a whole expedition. I thought this was just a jump puzzle. We finally emerge from the caves. Okay, I see the light of my mastery point. And the choir and the BGM started singing. They're like, oh, oh, oh. Is that the sound of the mastery point? Oh.
You hear that? That bird sound? That's a magpie. Right? Now, I'm pretty sure magpies are only located in Australia. I could be wrong. And I have said this ever since Guild Wars 2 first came out, that somebody on the team has got to be from like my country, and specifically my state, right? Because they've got Brisbane Wildlands, Queensdale. For those that know Australia, it's like that's, and then magpie sounds. It's like, nah, it's way, dude, it's way too coincidental. It's way too coincidental.
Oh my god. The music could not be more appropriate. But of course, nothing could have prepared me for the open world of Heart of Thorns. It is horrible and amazing. It's a masterpiece, truly. It is an
it's so before she continues, yeah, it is like having like every sort of like known mental disorder and then not giving you the medication to deal with it, right? Because like they have designed jungle. They've designed it, right? And what would it be like if you're in that jungle? Well, it'd be terrifying. It'd be very hard to navigate. There's just shit everywhere. Like it's just you have no idea which way is up sometimes, and because it's so big, like the the Maguma jungle is so gigantic, like up, right? Let alone sideways, but up and down, right? That it is frightening on levels that you cannot conceive. And I think because of that, they've achieved their objective. It's also probably one of the reasons why they never replicated it ever again.
Penetrably dense jungle with so many layers, and it's so high up, and it's so far down. And there's so much in between that you will get lost in. Like I took a helicopter to the top above the tree canopy, and I fell off the sky island. Like I slipped, and I fell and fell so far. And then I landed on a branch, like somewhere that I could go. And I wondered, like, can I just fall down from here even more?
By the way, little tip: if you fall and you're on your mount, the cool thing, just like you saw, is that you won't actually accrue any health loss. It's the mount, right? So think of your mount as kind of like a safety net. Right, so even if you fall from a great height on your mount, don't worry, because as soon as you hit the ground, you'll just dismount and that's it.
And I did. And I even managed to land somewhere even farther down below. Like the sheer immensity of scale. I have never had a game that made me feel so small, like a bug. And then with the glider, I started thinking about everything differently. I'm like, well, I have to go to that upper cliff and glide down from there to get where I need to go. Like I'm doing geometry in my head, mapping out the trajectory. I did, however, die in an updraft straight away. Didn't know you have to unlock that first. ArenaNet devs are truly on another level, pun intended. People like to say verticality, but I did not know what that meant until I fell in a random crevasse, like after skydiving down at Mach 15, landing in a hidden village that led down into another cave. So, are open worlds ruined for me? Now, yes, I will always be comparing it to Guild Wars 2. Wait, I didn't even mention the meta events. So these are massively multiplayer open world adventures with tons of other players around doing coordinated map assault.
So essentially, yeah, so like you've got certain maps that have like meta wide an event. Basically it's got a start, all the middle, and then a finish, right? So kind of think of it like the standard dynamic adventures or quests that we partake in with the orange circles, and just magnify that to this massive thing where certain parts of the map are locked off until the event starts. The good thing is though that on the wiki there are event timers, so you can actually see when all of these events are going to rotate around again, and you can partake in them, at your leisure.
So if you're ever wondering how Guild Wars 2 is doing in 2025, hop into one of those and look. Like it's thriving. There's tons of people at all times of day doing these things. There is one zone.
There are tons of people everywhere. This is the funny part, is that you can be in any zone and there'll always be people, because the game is constantly rewarding you wherever you are. It's something that not a lot of other MMOs do. Once you clear a zone, there's no real need to go back. But because you have the horizontal progression with their mastery system, along with achievement hunting and everything else, a lot of people are in a lot of the zones. It's wild.
Where it feels like the boss takes up half the damn map all on his own. I cannot share anything else about that though, because it's going to be spoilery. So, okay. So in terms of onboarding, there is no onboarding.
I know what she's talking about.
I'm half joking. When I was leveling up from 1 to 80 in the core game, I spent a lot of time running around, doing the hearts, and I loved exploring, but I didn't realize that you can get a lot of XP from doing your adventure guide. I didn't know what that was till someone in chat told me about it. There's so many things the game assumes you know, but you don't. The game still keeps throwing crap at me that I don't understand, like into my bags. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what these things are for or what to do with them. Twitch chat told me about salvaging, which helped, but they give you bags and bags and bags of loot. And when you open those bags, you know what's in it? More bags of loot. It's like
so here's just the basic premise when it comes, because you get loads of shit when you're questing, right? There's a little drop down arrow next, so you can see up here, right? This little arrow here, this is your material storage, right? So every time you open bags up and everything fills up, just click that and it will deposit it until your material storage is full, right? Outside of that, sell everything to the trading post. Right click on it and sell it, right? I've been playing since the beginning, right? I don't run around on ascended gear. I run around on exotics. All my characters are running around on exotics, except for maybe a couple of pieces of ascended gear that have been just accrued over time. And I can still play everything in the game. Gear is not the issue here. So, you know, generally what you do is if you get like a weapon drop or anything like that, you know, I generally sell it. I right click, if you can sell it to trading post, sell it to trading post. You get more money than vendoring it, right? Same with the gear. But one thing you have to do is that when you right click on a piece of gear, there'll be an option to unlock the skin. Unlock the skin first, and then if it gives the option to sell it, sell it. Otherwise, just go to a vendor, you know, just a merchant or whatever, and just sell it that way if you can't sell it directly to the trading post.
freaking Matryoshka bags. I did not understand the transmog points, like transmutation charges. I just use them like crazy, and then when I run out, that's a problem for future me, I guess. It is often true in games that as a new player, you need to get comfy with a certain level of, I don't know what's going on, so that you can just enjoy yourself without trying to figure every single thing out. And that is how I've been approaching it, and it is working. Over time, I'm absorbing things slowly, and it's okay if it takes a while. So the feel of combat is great. It's responsive. I love building up the combo points for a big hit on Virtuoso. Combat has definitely gotten harder since Heart of Thorns, but you know, I got my gear, I got my build set up. I've been practicing my rotation, so it's been really fun to play. You weapon swap, so you've got a fair amount of buttons, but not so many that it's mind melting. Though apparently it is like that on Elementalist, I've heard. I don't know, y'all can tell me in the comments. As for the worst combat experience, the turret stuff in core game was horrible. It was so tedious. And at one point, using a turret in a major fight, it was just so bad. Everything leads up to this moment. You get on a turret and you just press 11111, and that's it. It was, guys, y'all gotta fix this. It felt unfinished. That said, knowing how to set up a build or what gear to get, I relied heavily on my guild, which you can join, by the way, and stream chat to understand this. It was really confusing. Like, what stats do I need? How do you activate the build? Where do you buy gear? Where is the auction house? What are gems for? What kind of weapon do I need? And without the help of the community, I would not figure this stuff out. Shout out to Muckluck, by the way, another great Guild Wars 2 YouTuber whose videos really helped me avoid a lot of those mistakes. Though honestly, considering the main pain points that I've had as a new player in combat, I've realized that they're mostly tied to the UI and the fact that I cannot customize it. I've been told that I can download Blish UI to fix a lot of this, but I haven't been using it, and I think it's part of the onboarding problem where I didn't know what a break bar was for the longest time. Chat explained that. There was a story boss where I had to get a color buff, like kill and add, run to the color, stand in the circle, do DPS, and repeat. But there was a lot that I was expected to read from tiny boon icons that are really hard to see and that I wish I could move and resize. I can't stream Guild Wars 2 on ultra wide, which is a tragedy because it's so beautiful, but I can't move UI elements centrally so they'd stay visible to viewers. I wish I could do that. The wardrobe screen is tragically tiny and not resizable. The adventure log being hidden, you know, that was a UI issue. Lack of bag categories, it's a UI issue. I was so confused when I unlocked mastery points.
I must admit, like I again, like I'm acclimatized to it, so I'm not a new player saying this. So I'm only speaking from my perspective, but I actually like the idea that we can't customize, right? Because I still play WoW, right? And for the longest time, I was like micromanaging everything, UI wise. And after a while, it's like, look, man, just give me a nice looking UI that I will get used to it myself, right? And work around it. So yeah, I don't run like I used to run one mod, but it wasn't UI. It was a mount wheel. Outside of that, nah, it's all vanilla game for me.
It's too like it's ready to train, and I'm like, okay, what's ready to train? What's the mastery point? My friends had to tell me where to click to find the hints. None of that was clear in game at all. The game performance has been rock solid for me though. Wow, even with a million people on screen and all the spell effects, no problem. They do not have maintenance downtime either, which is incredible. Like, you just restart the game and your patch is good to go. That's it. It's wild. As for the story,
Yeah, you'll sometimes you'll get a notification in the chat that says there's a new build available, and then yeah, you just restart, update, back in.
I won't be spoiler here, but it has definitely been getting better and better and better. I have suffered some emotional damage in a good way, and people told me that the core game is like ARR from FF, and I'd say that's fair. As a person who didn't mind AR, I enjoyed the core game story, and pretty much always was excited to find out what would happen next. I was really invested in Traherne's wild hunt, and I absolutely loved traversing ore. In some places that's easy to imagine what it might have looked like in better times. There are so many lovable characters, like Ritlock. This guy is a legend. That's all I can say. Timey, she's one of my favorites. I also think the Heart of Thorns expansion reveal that happens in a patch story might have been the best expansion reveal of all time. They give you this incredibly hype cliffhanger story moment. And I was told that Guild Wars 2 players, when they played through this, had no idea that Heart of Thorns was an expansion that was coming, that any expansion was coming. And so you have this incredibly hype moment, a cliffhanger, and then you just see it on screen. Heart of Thorns. I cannot imagine how that must have felt. Oh my God. Even me knowing it was coming, I still got a little fraction of the magic that some of y'all must have felt in that moment. I would say from a creative writing perspective, the narrative structure is pretty solid. You know, we have plot events that drive the plot momentum forward and make you want to see what happens next. I trust the writers. If a character gets hurt in battle, it's not something that's just forgotten. And if someone goes through trauma, that matters later. And things that happened long ago are built upon in the future. So I can actually trust the writers, and they respect their own world building, which is essential. I'm actually kind of shocked that I've been snoozing on this game for so long. Where I am now, which is content that came out 10 years ago, I can confidently say by now it feels like the developers had hit their stride by then and were dishing out quality by then.
Yeah, the good thing at least is that they figured out their foundation in the very beginning. They figured out how their quest structure was going to be, how their world structure was going to be. You know, outside of the storytelling, like, you know, that has changed from the little cutscenes to now just simply talking in game, inside, like in the world, where you can move around and rotate and zoom in and out at your leisure. Yeah, they laid a very solid foundation, and they haven't overly deviated from that too much. I will add, just slightly off topic, is that back in the day, like Guild Wars 1 was one of the few online games that was fully voiced. Right? Like, we actually had fully voiced cutscenes that are not a lot of other online games had at the time. And I remember showing a lot of my friends, because I was just harping on about it, going, oh, you don't need a subscription like WoW. You know, once you bought it, that's it. You don't have to repair your gear. Gear level doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And I got them into it, and some of them would, like, playing the story. They're like, this is amazing. Like, you know, this is all fully voiced. You know, when we're getting the cutscenes for playing through, like, the different campaigns for Guild Wars 1. So they then just took that and they just carried it on even further and better.
So I'm really looking forward to doing the other expansions. It helps that the open world is a masterpiece. That's a big part of it. Heart of Thorns feels like an adventure in the jungle, but the stakes are real. People are sleeping on the music in this game too. The ambient music all throughout the world is great. Heart of Thorns has several tracks that caught me off guard. I'm like, dang, that's actually really nice. And my God, who can forget the beautiful song that plays at the end of the core game? I also want to say that the Guild Wars 2 community has made me feel so welcome. I really can't thank y'all enough for being so inviting, so kind, so patient, and so understanding while I bumble my way through and slowly pick things up bit by bit and then forget things and have to learn again. But y'all made this process so much fun, and all my best memories include so many of you porting me or turtling me out of trouble or into it in some cases. I hope to make a lot more memories in the game, and look forward to continuing to play. We do have a guild, like I mentioned, Only Buttons Recruiting. So join our Discord if you want to know how to join.
So you can join multiple guilds too, by the way. Right, so if you've got a guild and you're one guild and you like want to join another guild, you can join multiple guilds, which is really nice. There's no restrictions in terms of that. I don't know what the maximum amount is, but you know, you got it. But yeah, no, it's always good to hear from people that have been playing that. Shout out to Muckluck, I've spoken to him before. He's a really cool dude, very chill. And you know, a lot of the guys, like even though I've been playing it for the longest time, like I am very much just a casual player. You know, I'm very happy. Like, I've got all the professions leveled to 80. You know, I'm very happy with, you know, how my character's gear is and stuff like that. But I play just casually. Like, I'm not, you know, min-maxing on trying to figure out the nitty-gritty of everything from, like, raids or strikes or whatever. I am hoping, though, like, if those that are watching this video, they are bringing out, like, so they've been trialing it now, a quick play, so like an LFG for Guild Wars 2. They've been doing it with fractals, and it's been working flawlessly. It's been absolutely amazing, because just like how you can queue for PvP anywhere in the world and just keep continuing questing or playing in the world while you're waiting to jump in, they're actually bringing that now to the actual PvE content. So my grand hope here is that all the PvE content that people have been missing out on because they've had difficulty getting people together, even for the training parts, because right now you can see it, people are looking for groups for both training and experience, but sometimes there is no training group. Sometimes it is just, you know, an experienced group, you know, and then because you don't have the experience, you can't go in and try it out. So there's actually still some content in the game that I've never experienced, simply because I haven't had the numbers of the time to get in there and try this stuff out. But having a quick play option would be absolutely just pinnacle, right? Because that would alleviate those issues. And you can still have it that people are looking for help with certain things. But for the core PvE very instance content, like the dungeons, the fractals, the raids, and the strikes, and the raids and the strikes are actually being merged as of Visions or not long after, I believe, then this allows people to just experience the game in a way that, because you can play the game like as any character, like any profession, right? There is no trinity here or anything like that as such. So because you can do that, then there's obviously that anyone can jump into anything. Like, you're not being denied, you know, like you can't, it's like if you don't take in a certain amount of healers or whatever, you'll fail, you know, this fractal or something like that. Obviously, you know, on harder difficulties for things, sure, you've got to be a lot more, you know, precise. But this is where I think the quick play option needs to come in. So that way, people can experience the content, right, with randoms, right, or people that they've already grouped up and then go into it, without being restricted from that content. Because I think it's very important that, you know, that people aren't, you know, sort of locked out because they can't, you know, I don't know how to get a group together. I don't know who I'm supposed to be asking to have in there or anything like that. So I think this is good. I think Guild Wars 2 is starting to sort of realize that things like LFG and stuff like that they've had for other MMOs is something that, yeah, it's time. And like I said, they've already got it for the PvP. But shout out to Zepla. This is a good video. It's good to hear, obviously, from people that are just starting to get into it or have been into it for a little bit, because it is such an amazing game. their roadmap and the way that they have been putting out content for the last few expansions has been on point. One of the biggest things, just to finalize, I get excited for is new maps, right? So you'll get the expansion, you'll play around the first map or two, and then, you know, you might get like an update, and then after that, they'll then launch like a next part of the world. And when I look at the world map and I just look at it, go, man, I can't wait till like hopefully one day this all gets filled out. And they seem to also go back like they are, like I said earlier, with their mounts and revisit them and go, okay, like their skimmer with Visions of Eternity, they're like, okay, you know, this is a pretty sort of water-based map. How do we take this mount and, you know, just make it like really cool? And so people want to use that mount a lot over there. And that's good. It means that every single mount, I hope, you know, eventually gets the full treatment. Because there are a few that definitely need it, like the Jackal, and the Springer and the Raptor. Even maybe the Sky Skull needs a couple. Definitely the Griffin, you know, could do with like maybe an ability or two, depending on how many slots are left. So yeah, again, these things are like here's an example for the Griffin, that those that are watching. I'd like the Griffin to have some sort of massive like jump straight up into the air, because generally to get the maximum benefit of a Griffin is to get a fairly sort of like medium to high place, jump off, and then use obviously like your dive and speed and momentum to traverse through the world. But to have an ability where you could automatically just get flung straight up in the air, like we have those automatic conversion wind gusts that we have for Sky Scale, but bake that into the Griffin, so you get thrown right up in the air, and then you've got the height instantly anywhere in the world to then start your flight journey. There's a freebie for you, arenanet. There you go. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. I'll put the link for the video in the description. Please go check it out. Catch you next time.